The man who ran the corruption inquiry that transformed Queensland has described Campbell Newman's government as megalomaniacs. Tony Fitzgerald QC was reacting to the government's appointment of Chief Magistrate Tim Carmody as the state's new Chief Justice. Tony Fitzgerald describes the government as people whose ambitions exceed their ability, and he says they're prepared to damage even fundamental institutions like the Supreme Court and cast doubt on fundamental principles like the independence of the judiciary. Tim Carmody was only appointed Chief Magistrate last September, and in the meantime he's caused controversy by backing a number of the Premier's political initiatives, such as the anti-bikie laws. That's led to questions about the separation of powers. Stephanie Smale reports.
Tim Carmody's elevation to Chief Justice ends months of rumour and speculation about who would win the job. Queensland's Premier Campbell Newman has described Judge Carmody as a self-made man with plenty of legal and life experience.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tim Carmody has the credentials, has the CV, has the life experience, has the expertise in the law, and as the leader our court system and our legal system needs in this state.
The 58-year-old is a former police officer who became a barrister in 1982. He served as counsel assisting to the Fitzgerald inquiry into corruption in the late 1980s and is a former Queensland Crime Commissioner and Family Court judge. But the appointment has met staunch criticism from some of Queensland's top legal minds, including Tony Fitzgerald himself. In a statement, Mr Fitzgerald writes, "It's deeply troubling that the megalomaniacs currently holding power in Queensland are prepared to damage even fundamental institutions like the Supreme Court and cast doubt on fundamental principles like the independence of the judiciary." The state's former Solicitor General, Walter Sofronoff, is also critical. He claims Judge Carmody showed support for the Newman government's tough anti-bikie laws and argues his appointment could be seen as a reward for apparent political loyalty. The new Chief Justice has rejected those assertions.
I am fiercely independent. If my views happen to coincide with the government's views, that's pure coincidence. There will be many times when I disagree with the government's position, but again, that's irrelevant to the job I'm doing. And I have the training and the long experience to be able to put aside my personal views to do the job that's required in the public interest.
Tim Carmody only took on the role of Chief Magistrate last year, but he argues he can and will do the job of Chief Justice, despite some opinions he shouldn't.
It's as bad to be biased against a government as it is for a government. No judge should be biased either way. We uphold the rule of law. That includes respect for government's right to make the laws, whether they're popular, perceived to be right or wrong, it's irrelevant to us. We make laws according to principle, not private opinion.
George Freiberg is a former Queensland Supreme Court judge. He says he hasn't seen any evidence of political bias, but he claims Judge Carmody lacks the experience, work ethic and intelligence that are needed for the top job.
For the Chief Justice, you need qualities like a very powerful intellectual ability. Tim's quite bright, but I don't think he's in the league that is required for Chief Justice.
Justice Freiberg says it's highly unusual to make a Chief Magistrate a Chief Justice, and it hasn't been done anywhere in Australia for about 50 years. A Supreme Court judge is usually picked for the position. He says it looks like the Queensland government is trying to make a political point.
The Newman government seems to have developed a siege mentality regarding the legal profession, and they want to demonstrate that their political power runs to appointing whom they choose, not necessarily someone regarded as appropriate by lawyers, or judges or anybody else. Much the same thing happened 20 or 30 years ago when Joe Bjelke-Petersen wanted to appoint Judge Andrews of the District Court to be Chief Justice, when the obvious appointment was Justice Douglas, the senior judge on the Supreme Court. That led to a huge controversy where the attorney of the day wouldn't support the Premier.
But Campbell Newman says he's confident with his decision.
This bloke is the right bloke to take our courts forward for the next 10 years. He will be an inspirational leader. I know he'll take on the mantle from Chief Justice Paul de Jersey, and he will lead the courts effectively. And I think, importantly, he will inspire Queenslanders because they will see that they can do as he has done.
Queensland's Premier Campbell Newman ending Stephanie Smale's report.